Kyle, you posted something on Instagram the other day, a quote that said, if your income is growing faster than your net worth, you're growing in the wrong direction. And you just put it there and you left it. And so that was kind of fun. I wanted to dive deeper on that today because first I want to know, what do you mean? Why is that right? I want to go deeper into that today.
For sure. So we'll give credit to Mr. Eddie Speed who dropped that nugget. I was at a event called Boardroom. It's put on by Kent Clothier, one of the experts in the real estate investment space here in the United States. And he puts on this killer event every quarter called Boardroom. And everybody who goes to this event, they're all the best of the best when it comes to real estate investing. You've got people that are wholesaling, fix and flipping, developing, doing notes, all kinds of different stuff in the real estate investment space. And it was a gem that Eddie dropped there. If you're focused on growing your income more than your net worth, you're growing in the wrong direction. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And I'm Bryan Koci.
The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business, whether that be real estate, mortgage, or any other business out there. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question you want to have us answer on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com, thewhisselway.com. Ask us questions on there. Subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel. Join our referral network for everybody who's leaving California. Also, you can get into our email newsletter and our private Facebook group where we share a lot of tips and tricks of what we are working on internally on our team that's on track to do over $800 million in sales this year. And lastly, if you want to level up your content creation game, we have something called the Media Mayor Mastermind. We teach you everything Bryan and I have learned together over the last 10 plus years. Audio, video, social content, all of that, thewhisselway.com. Let's roll.
So before I get into how to do this, I mean, it seems kind of like a no-brainer, but why don't people in real estate start investing and worrying about their net worth rather than just their income?
I feel the same way, right? It seems so obvious, right? Like, let's just think about what we have, right, at our fingertips. Like, we are the experts in the real estate space, yet if you surveyed 1,000 realtors, I bet you half of them don't even own a home, right? Home that they live in.
Such a pet peeve of mine.
Right?
I don't even want to go down that route.
and then an additional percentage of them don't own any investment property. I would venture to guess, I have no clue, I'm just making up these numbers, but if I had to guess, I would venture to guess that less than 10% of real estate agents own their current home and at least one investment property.
Bold take.
I would be willing to make a significant wager on that. Now, right, keep in mind there's studies that just came out that said 50% of real estate agents didn't even sell, or 71% of real estate agents didn't even sell a house last year. So I'm hedging a little bit, right? If you didn't even sell a house last year, you probably don't own a home. Now, maybe you do. Maybe you have a spouse that's the breadwinner and you just got your license to do a deal every once in a while. But I'm hedging there. I think I might have some insider knowledge. But I would guess that less than 10% of licensed real estate agents own the home they live in and at least one investment property on top of that.
So do you think they don't, I don't even want to talk about own the house they live in. Let's talk about investment properties.
Well, but let's start there, right?
Okay.
Like the amount of real estate agents are like, oh, what should I be investing? What should I be investing in? Like maybe a home for yourself to live in? Like, let's start there, right? Like, because there's some significant advantages to a primary residence that don't exist with an investment property. The biggest one being that you can buy a primary residence with little to no money down, right? Depending on the situation, if it's a USDA or a VA loan, you could buy with no money down. You could buy an FHA loan at 3.5% down, or you could potentially get seller financing or something along those lines. So you could buy your primary residence with a significantly lower down payment than you can an investment property. And when you go to sell that primary residence, what you could do after just 2 years of living in it, you could sell it and keep all of the proceeds tax-free up to $500,000. Now, obviously, there's a calculation of how that's factored, but you could keep up to $500,000 tax-free when you sell that home. Like, let's start by investing there. Like, that should be the first place we go before we worry about adding any investment property to that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, like, if you're going to sell something, you should know it. That's actually how I got into media. I was a cashier at Best Buy. They moved me to cameras, and I said, well, I'll buy a camera. And It's amazing how many people in real estate. Now, there may be a situation where they're not currently owning the home that they live in now, but I think it's pretty important that you buy or sell a house at least once as a real estate agent, so that way you know the
obviously
process.
the financial side, but where you're going, the process. Because hell, we've sold 5,000 plus houses now. And when I bought my most recent home a few years ago that my family lives in, I was on pins and needles the entire time, right? And I've done this thousands of times now. Like, you've got to go through that. And we juggled buying and selling simultaneously. And then, rent backs that we had on our sale, also rent back on our purchase. Like, there's a lot of moving parts. Like, you need to go through that process. You got to experience that, see what that's like. Because you have no idea what your clients are going through if you've never gone through it yourself. So that's another, not only the financial reasons, but also just to actually physically go through that process and understand the levels of stress and whatnot. And also, it's okay to tell your client, like, hey, even when I've bought homes, I've driven by the home like 20 times while we were under contract. And that's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with you because your client's doing that and they think they're weird. I still did that, right? Like, that's a normal thing to do, but you would have no freaking clue if you've never bought a home before. So just going through that emotional roller coaster that your clients are going through, I think that's another huge reason why. Let's start there.
Yeah, I definitely did that too with my house. I felt weird about it.
You nervous? Stressed out? No, you just were like, everything is good.
No, it wasn't. Especially because and it doesn't matter. We didn't get our offer accepted the first time, and they didn't even counter. It pissed me off. Anyways. So,
how do you really feel? No resentment, not holding on to it at all?
I think it's a bad business decision. Why wouldn't you even counter?
Yeah. Very few scenarios is it a good strategy.
And it wasn't in their situation. So now we know we should invest, and we should invest
let's start with our primary.
Okay.
That's where we got to start, right?
Okay.
Like, that's at a bare minimum. But then what happens is a lot of people just stop there, and then they're just like, all right, I did it. I accomplished the American dream of home ownership, and I did it. That's where a lot of people stop, right? But that's just where the game starts, right? Like, that's just getting past square one. Like, now the game really begins. But the problem is most people feel like, boom, check the box, own a home. And then they just go back and they get stuck in this hamster wheel of just deal to deal to deal to deal to deal. And they can't get out of this hamster wheel or the rat race, whatever analogy you prefer. People just get stuck in that. And they're just so focused on the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, that they never slow down and realize the opportunity that's in front of them. Like, you guys watching this, like, your meeting, whether you've sold dozens of homes in your career, hundreds of homes, or, in our case, thousands of homes, like, you have more knowledge about the real estate market than 99.9% of people. Why are you not using that to your advantage, right? Like, a deal when you find one. Where I find a lot of people make the mistake is they go out there and they find a deal, and let's just assume it's a fix and flip, for example, right? Like, you run into this house, it's a beat up hoarder house, but you talk to the seller and the seller says, hey, I just want to get rid of this thing. I don't want to go on the market. I don't want people to see my house. I don't want people to know what I got going on here. If I could just get $500,000, I'd be happy. And obviously it's a hoarder house. So let's assume it needs like $200,000 worth of work to get it cleaned up and renovated and put back on the market, but then it's worth $1 million. A lot of you talk to that client, you get so excited, you're sitting there and like, oh, I can't wait to call, this investor, that investor, and you leave the appointment and you call them like, oh my gosh, I got the best deal for you. You're gonna buy this thing, $500,000, $200,000 in rehab, and it's $1 million ARV. And you're so excited to call your clients about it. For what? So you can like, oh, I'm going to double end it, right? Like, I'm going to get the listing commission and I'm going to get the purchase commission. I'm double ending it. Like, yeah. I mean, we're not supposed to talk about percentages, but you're somewhere at 6% or less, I would imagine. So let's assume best case scenario, you got that at 6. So you got a $500,000 deal and you got 6% total commission. You made $30,000. Okay, now maybe you were smart enough, which you should be if you're going to sell something to a flipper, to hopefully negotiate the fact that when they're done with the renovation, you're going to be the agent to relist it for them. So let's assume you get another like % or two there. So let's go best case 2% that you got on that relist, on $1 million relist. So you got $30,000 on the purchase commission, you got $20,000 on the relist commission, so you got a $50,000 commission. Sounds great, but wait, how much? You could buy it for $500. But then you could have taken 6% off of that, or just taken the whole commission. Either way, like, you still could have got the commission on it, and then put 200 grand into it, sold it for $1 million. So you have like 300,000, but realistically after fees and stuff, it's probably 250. Like, why are we getting excited to call our favorite investor to make 50 grand when we could make 250 grand, right? We could make 5 times the money in that scenario. But we don't stop and take a step back and think about it. We get so fixated on just, I got to get this deal, that we're not actually slowing down and thinking about the opportunity that's in front of us. And so there's that opportunity right there. You can make 250 grand. Now, immediately, I know what you're thinking. Your brain is going to like, but the money, I don't have the money. How am I going to do this? Really? Like, deals are easy to find. Money's easy to find. Deals are hard to find. If you went to all of your investors, everybody you know that has money, and you said, hey, I got this deal tied up. Now, typically on a $500,000 property, let's assume you're doing a hard money loan, you're going to have to put 25% down. Let's just run with that. You could probably get much better, but let's assume 25%. So 25% of 500,000 is 125 grand. Now, if you get the hard money loan done the right way, they will finance the rehab cost. So all you got to do is go get $125,000. If you reached out to all of the people that you know, right now we talked 250,000 profit. The old school way of doing this was you split the 50-50, the sweat equity partner, which is you, and the check equity partner, which is the investor. In this scenario, there's $250,000 of profit. I don't think you need to split it 50-50, because if you did split it 50-50, that's $125,000 profit. If somebody gave you $125,000, 25% of the 500K, that's an insane return. You shouldn't give that much. Let's assume you just give 25% of the deal away, which I think you very easily could do. So now you're talking $62,500 of the profit. Do you think if you asked the 10 wealthiest people you know, hey Kyle, I got this deal tied up. Here's the numbers. I can buy this thing for $500. It needs 200 grand in rehab, and we could sell this thing for $1 million. All I need is 125 grand. I'll give you 25% of the profit, which should be 62,500. And it's going to take me 6 months to do it. If you go to the 10 wealthiest people you know and you ask them that question, they could get a 50% return on their investment in a 6-month time period. They will have the check written to you. They will have the wire sent to you before you can even ask the freaking question. Like, the money is easy to find. So why are we not doing that? Why are we getting so excited to call our favorite investor to make the 50 when we can make that same call to an investor, just a different type of investor, right? Now they're giving you the cash or the equity in the deal, right? They're bringing the capital to the table. Now you're using none of your money. You're using 100% of their money, but you're going to probably take down 75% of the profit in that deal. And now instead of, what is that? That's 125 plus 6250. That's like 187,500. Like, you could go 187,500 versus 50 and not use any of your money. Use somebody else's money. Which would you rather do? And that investor loves you now, right? Because you just gave them a 50% freaking return on their money in 6 months. They're like, when can we do this again? When can we do this again? So why do we keep going and just calling our favorite investor when that opportunity's there, right? So that's the first thing you got to do is you're sitting down in the living room and you can legally insider trade, right? When I say you can legally insider trade, I mean, when you go sit down in that living room, if that seller says, if I could get 500 grand and have that money next week, I'm gone. There's no rule that says you have to bring that to the market, right? There's no rule that it has to go public. Like, you have an insider trading opportunity. You know that market better than 99.9% of people, and you're sitting there in the living room. You don't have to expose this to anybody else. If the seller says they're cool with it, you obviously disclose you're an agent, you're buying it, blah, blah, blah. Like, do all the proper disclosures in your state and buy the freaking property. You don't have to go call your favorite investor. So there's a really easy way to now make, more than 3x the money in that exact scenario. Like, let's start there, right? That's the easiest thing that we can do.
Is it my turn yet?
Sure.
So I hear you. You are very I'm very risk adverse. You're very risk tolerant. If you're listening right now and you're like me,
more than risk tolerant. I'm excited for risk.
I know. It makes me hard even to say it. It's hard for me to even say that. So what can someone do? Say you're listening and you're like me and you're like, hey, cool, I hear you. but I'm worried once I find the deal, I won't actually find that investor. Is there something you can do now, Kyle, that someone can reach out to their people and say, hey, from time to time I come across this. Is there a email or a social media or a phone call script, so to speak, that you would use to start building your bench, so to speak, of investors?
Just ask if I would you questions, right? So just go to the 10 people you know that have the most money, or at least that you assume. You'd be surprised. There's people that have a lot of money that you would never think.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Or vice versa. Your friend that has a Lambo actually doesn't have $1 to their name, and they're not sure how they're going to make the payment on the Lambo next month. So just go to the 10 people you believe have the most money and just say, hey, I'm doing, obviously, I've been in the business for a long time, and oftentimes I come across fix and flip opportunities. On the next fix and flip opportunity, I'm looking to find a check equity partner, right? Somebody to bring capital to the table. I'll do all the work. I'll find the deal. I'll find the contractor. I'll manage the contractor. I'll sell the deal. I'll do all the work. All you got to do is just bring a check. Now, you could be, you can come and check out the property and do all that. But ultimately, I'm going to run this thing. All you got to do is just put your money in, and I'll give you back 25% of the proceeds. And here's the most recent deal that I sent to an investor. Here's how that deal looked. And then boom, $500K purchase, $200K rehab, $1 million ARV. That, had a $250,000 net profit on that deal. So in that scenario, I would have needed $125K, and I would have been able to return your $125K plus $62,500. Is that something you would be interested in if I can find another deal similar to that? And just ask 10 people. And there you go. Now you got your investor list. Start with that, right? If we want to just have a very easy place to start, just throw that out there. Here's the most recent deal I did. Here's how the numbers looked. If an opportunity like that comes up, would you be interested? Throw that out there. And now just start to build that list of people that said, yeah, I'd be interested in that. If you don't know how to run the numbers on a flip, just go on to Google and type flip calculator, or go into your favorite AI and say, if I bought a property for this, blah, 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 punch in the parameters, and the AI will give you the freaking answer and tell you how it looks. Very easy. Don't overthink this.
Don't overthink. Let me write this down, because that's only what I do. Okay, so in your scenario that you brought up first, you're going on a listing appointment, you find a situation, hey, cool, it fell in your lap.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to be going on listing appointments.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're listening and you're going, yeah, that's cool, Kyle, but I only deal with buyers. But this sounds awesome. I really want to build wealth. I really want to stop chasing the check to check to check. I want to build a legacy for myself, for my family. How do you transition from just going check to check to check to going out and finding these deals and being proactive?
Yeah, so there's obviously the deals that you run into on your own, right, that you're going out on listing appointments, but just put it out there. The more people you tell of what your intention is, the more people are going to come to you. So start telling your agent friends, right? Just tell all of them. There's people that are called wholesalers. These guys literally go find the deals, and then they tie them up, and then they pitch them to fix and flippers. Go find who are all the wholesalers in your area, talk to all of your agent friends, and just put it out there. Throw it on your freaking social media. Hey, I'm looking to flip 3 properties in 2025. If you have a property that you think would make a good flip, text me, call me, DM me, right? Just put it out there. If you don't put your intentions out there, then these deals are not going to find you. So very easy way, right? Put it on your social, tell all your agent friends, and find all the wholesalers in your area. Those would be the first 3 places I would start.
Okay. Before we transition to the last part of our show where we talk about our widget,
we got to talk about more because all we did is talk. This is more we're transactional.
Oh.
All we've done so far is just go from making a commission on the transaction to now making a net profit on a transaction. But now we talked about how we can make 3x plus more than what we're currently making on these deals. But now we make this extra money. Now what do we do with that money, right?
Well, you put it in your pockets. You maybe buy a Lambo. You say happy day, right? Put it in the bank.
Yeah, you go buy. There was somebody put out a bottom producers panel recently. I thought it was an epic video. And it's I just closed my first deal, and people go buy some red bottoms or buy a fancy bag or fancy suit or fancy watch. That's what a lot of people do in that scenario. You could, and then you could try to convince yourself that it's a good investment. But a real good investment would be the same thing that you have more knowledge than 99.9% of people in this freaking real estate game, right? Like, understand what's the game. And now every area is going to be a little bit different. Like here in San Diego, we have some really unique opportunities right now. They determined that San Diego, we need to build 108,000 housing units by the year 2029. And this program started a few years ago. They've only approved 25,000. So it is now 2025. We have 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So in the next 5 years, we got to build 75,000 housing units. So we did 25,000 in the last 3 years. Now we need to do like 25,000 a year for the foreseeable future in order to hit this goal. So in San Diego, they're allowing us to do a lot of things we couldn't do previously and have become very pro-development. So they're allowing us to take single family homes and add ADUs and add additional units to that. They're allowing us to take garages and convert those to additional units. They're allowing properties that are zoned single family to have 10 plus units on them. Like, they're allowing a lot of these unique things here in San Diego that they've never allowed before. And so there's really easy opportunities to force appreciation, which is one of my favorite things when you have control over it, right? There's market appreciation, which you have no control over. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. So when I talk about, traditional appreciation, that's just buy a home and then sit on it and let the value increase over time, which it will. I've never met anybody who bought a home 20 years ago that regrets it. I've only met people who regret not buying a home 20 years ago. So there's going to be natural appreciation, but you don't necessarily want to bank on that. If you can also have forced appreciation, that's a beautiful thing, because now you could buy, just one of my agents the other day sent me a deal. And it's a seller, it's not on the market, and it's a duplex with 2 one-car garages. And the seller said, hey, if I could get $850 for this thing, I'd be ecstatic. The way the seller's thinking about that property is, well, I got a duplex, and duplexes in this area sell for $850. My brain immediately is like, but you got 2 garages, and the city is going to allow you to convert those garages into living space. Now, you could take those 2 garages and convert them into 2 small studios, or you can convert the 2 garages into one respectable size 1-bedroom unit. And then I went and I pulled the comps, and guess what? Somebody actually just did it in that neighborhood. And they sold that thing for like $1.5 million. So you could buy this thing for $850. You could convert the garage and rehab it. So you're probably going to spend like $300,000 to rehab it. But now you're in, and to convert the garage to a living space. But now you're in it for like 1.15, and one just sold for 1.5 million. Like, now you just came in there and bought something, and now you forced $350,000 of appreciation by converting what was there into something better. So now you got $350,000 of forced appreciation. Now you could hold that asset and just continue to ride it out. Or what people do, there's the BRRRR strategy, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So now you could buy that, you do the renovation, now you rent out the 3 units, then you refinance it, pull cash out, probably get all the cash out that you put in to buy that property, and go do that again and again and again. And now you start to build this portfolio. And now keep in mind, like, we all know values are going to go up. What's the traditional appreciation in your market over the last 50 years? I don't know. Most of the country's like 5% appreciation year over year. Well, based on that 5% appreciation, even if we did nothing else, we just held on to property, most properties, they're going to double in value every like 10 to 15 years. So now you just added $350,000 of forced appreciation, and now you hold on to this property for 10 or 15 years. Now, instead of it being worth 1.5, it's worth 3 million. But what if you could keep doing this and you keep adding another $1.5 million property, another? Now you start to really build some long-term wealth for yourself. And then the beauty is, as you build this portfolio out, lenders are like, oh, you have all this property and you have all this equity in properties. Let me give you loans against those properties. And then you can go buy more and you multiply this thing. And now you really, really start to build some wealth for yourself and do this right. You're building wealth that's generational, not only for yourself, but for your kids and their kids and their kids. And that's the thing I'm obsessed about, is like helping all of my real estate friends stop just focusing on the next transaction. Let's slow down, guys. Like, let's get off the hamster wheel and maybe spend a month and like really dig in and learn this stuff. Watch a ton of YouTube videos, right? Hop on some webinars, use AI, ask questions, like get a good understanding on this and take advantage of this opportunity. Because again, you've got more knowledge than anybody. And the people around you, they watch what you're doing. They see that you're out there, whether you sold dozens of homes, hundreds of homes, or thousands. Like, everybody's watching you. They see you as like the real estate expert. So now you find these deals, whether you have your own money or not, you now reach out to those people that do have money. They'll happily invest in your deals with you, right? In the last few months, I've raised like $4 million just from friends and family for deals, right? Because people see like, oh, Kyle knows what's up, right? He understands real estate. They're happy to invest alongside me because they know I know what the hell I'm doing, just like you know what the hell you're doing. And I want to encourage you guys to just hop off the hamster wheel a little bit, and let's not be so transactional. Let's really start not focusing on the next check, but let's start focusing on building some true wealth for ourselves and for our family.
All right. So the next step, now actually, how do we make real money? So now we got billions of dollars in the bank, but now how do we make trillions, right? Is that maybe the next podcast?
We can do that on the next one. We'll save it.
So now can I say my last thing before we
yeah.
So before we go into our Whissel Widget of the Week.
Sorry, I'm passionate about this,
I
man.
love it.
Like, I want to help all of my real estate friends build wealth, right? I'm at a point right now, I've got over 1,000 apartment units I'm a partner in, 750 storage units, 300 mobile home units. We got hundreds of units in development here in San Diego. Like, I want to help other people build portfolios like that, right? I've been so blessed with all these opportunities. And so whether, you're looking to partner on something, and maybe you just want to come in and invest in something and see how it works, or you want to go do it yourself, like, man, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. Just send me a DM on Instagram at Kyle Whissel. More than happy to help you grow. This is a true passion of mine, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Now you can go.
Yeah, usually I can guess where you're going. I'm like, I don't know where we're at. So if you can tell people to take one action this year, what's the one thing they need to do to kickstart this off?
Slow down and just understand this stuff better, because the biggest thing that holds most people back, whether it's making the phone calls, whether it's knocking the door, or whether it's investing, is you feel like you don't understand it enough, so you just don't do it. Well, guess what? If you role play what to say on the phone over and over and over again, you get more confident. You're more willing to make that phone call. If you role play what to say when you get to the door, you're more willing to go knock on the door because you know what to say. Well, let's do the same thing. Let's really understand the ins and outs of understanding fixing and flipping. Let's understand the ins and outs of developing. Let's understand the ins and outs of, the ADU programs or whatever unique programs they have in your particular area. Like, the more you understand that, the more confident you'll feel, and then you'll be more likely to take action. So I would say just step off the hamster wheel and maybe spend, even if it's like 2 hours a week, like, let's just take a little bit of time each week to really hone in on our expertise in these areas and get better. And then we'll start to feel more confident. And then the second thing I would say is just start reaching out with what we talked about with investors, and with potential investors, AKA the people that have money, and just throw out, hey, the last fix and flip deal I did, this is how it looked. Would you be interested if something like that comes up again? Or, the ADU play that I talked about where we're converting garages into living space. Like, hey, if a deal like that came up, would you be interested in investing with me on that? Like, just start throwing out those hypotheticals to the people that have money, and then that will also give you the confidence. So if you have the confidence that you understand what you're talking about, and you have the confidence to know that you have check equity partners ready to go when you do find that deal, when you put those two together, the deals will happen.
I love it.
I just made that up on the fly.
Sure.
It sounded good.
I think so. We'll probably clip it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, if you guys enjoyed the show today, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed it. If you have a question, throw it in the comment section. Brian and I personally respond to all of those. If you want more of our content on there, hit the subscribe button and then follow it up with the notification bell. And if you're listening on the podcast platform, hook us up with a review. Those reviews mean the world to us, help spread the word about the show. Make sure you subscribe as well. And yeah, more questions, go to thewhisselway.com.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, before we wrap up the show, what we like to finish with is something we call the Whissel Widget of the Week. It's something we utilize in our business that saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have a little bit more fun. What do you got for us, Brian?
So mine, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm a big Spotify fan, and I've got a Spotify family plan because my wife has one, I have one for all my devices at home, so that way I can listen in the car while they're listening at home. And so a lot of times I think a lot of people have this family plan when they have multiple pieces. Well, one of the things that I found out as I was doing a book study with some friends, I was going to have to buy the audiobook. But when you buy the audiobook, you have to subscribe to Audible, and then you get a credit every month, and then you forget, and Audible's great but they found a way to make sure you can never cancel your account. What's really cool, if you have the Spotify family plan, I'm looking up right now, it's $19.99 a month as of this recording. You get as the, what do they call it, the plan manager, so I signed up for it. I get 15 hours a month of listening time for audiobooks. And every book I've looked up that I've been trying to listen to has been on Spotify. So now I don't have to do, because I think it's like $20 a month for Audible?
I don't even know.
Maybe $10 a month, whatever. But if you're already paying $11 or $15 a month for Spotify and then $20 a month for Audible, you can combine them and use your Spotify account as a way to listen to audiobooks. So I'm really proud of that.
Cool.
Proud of that. I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it. I didn't do it.
The one I'm going to share with you, a friend of mine was using this at the last conference I was at, and I thought it was really cool because I've been using Otter, OTTER.ai, to record meeting notes when I'm sitting down for meetings, especially like development meetings where I don't understand what people are talking about half the time. Then I go back and read through the notes and do my research after the fact to like fill in any gaps that I have. The problem with Otter is like every time I have to like grab my phone, I have to load the app, and I have to like set my phone on the table, which I also read like it's seen as disrespectful a lot of times when you put your phone on the table. Like you're waiting for something on your phone that's more important than the person that you're sitting in front of. So this thing, it's called Plaud, P-L-A-U-D. They make two different versions of this thing. One, it uses the MagSafe on your iPhone, and it just snaps on the back of it. Well, that is pointless in my eyes because you might as well just use Otter at that point. But they made a new one that's called the Pin, and it looks like a little capsule or a little pill, and you can either wear it around your neck, you can clip it to your collar, your lapel, whatever, or there's like a wristband, and then you can just tap a button on it and it will record the conversation and then transcribe it with AI and make notes and everything. I love that. And it also doesn't drain my freaking phone battery, because that's the other problem when you're using Otter is it's on constantly. So this Plaud thing, if you're just having a conversation with somebody and they're really giving you some knowledge, like, hey, do you mind if I just record this real quick? Boom, tap a button on your necklace, and now it starts recording that conversation and then giving you the AI notes from it. So I ordered one. Mine will be here this week. I can't wait to have that moving forward. So whether I'm sitting in a meeting, whether I'm at a conference, even if I just want to record the speaker speaking, or I'm just having, conversations at dinner or happy hour, the ability to like quickly record stuff at the tap of a button, I'm super freaking excited, and it's less than like $200. So Plaud, P-L-A-U-D.
I was going to say something about AI being scary to some people and having recording, but I'm going to be picking up my Ray-Ban Meta glasses today at some point. So
don't act like your phone's not recording every freaking thing that you say. Like,
sure.
You're going to start getting retargeted by Plaud after this, right? Because we just talked about it. So yeah, get yourself on that. Awesome, guys. Well, hopefully you got some value out of the show today. If you want to stay connected with Brian and I, follow us on Instagram. We're always open to our DMs at Kyle Whissel, at Bryan Koci. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Whissel Way podcast.